What if a single decision made in complete confidence became the very reason your future took a drastic detour? What if that decision wasn't made out of arrogance, but rather out of belief in your own path, crafted not with agents and media managers, but with family, loyalty, and legacy? That's exactly what the football world is asking as they watch the curious and unexpected journey of Shedeur Sanders, the once celebrated Colorado quarterback who entered the 2025 NFL Draft as a potential first-round pick, but ended up waiting through 4 long rounds before finally hearing his name called in the 5th. The fall was steep. The reactions were stunned. And at the center of it all is a choice that now seems too bold in hindsight. Shedeur Sanders walked into the most cutthroat process in football, the NFL Draft, without an agent. This isn't just a footnote in his journey. It could very well be the chapter that altered his entire story. In today's NFL, the draft is about more than talent. It's about branding, it's about image, it's about optics, and most of all, it's about control. The players themselves don't control much. Scouts have their reports, executives have their doubts, media outlets have their narratives. But one thing that can help a player navigate this whirlwind is an experienced agent, someone who knows how to manage interviews, prep clients for tough questions, squash damaging rumors, and spin the story back into their favor. Shedeur decided to go without that. He chose to bet on himself, his father's knowledge, and his football ability alone. Now let's be clear, Shedeur Sanders didn't make this decision blindly. He had support, strong support. He is the son of Deion Sanders, one of the most iconic names in NFL history. Deion has lived the pressure, walked through locker rooms with swagger, and understands the business better than most. He guided his son through the pre-draft process with the passion only a father can provide. But therein lies the subtle difference. As well-meaning and experienced as Deion is, he's still a father first. He isn't a neutral party. He doesn't carry the objective detachment that agents must have when talking to teams. And when it comes to front office decision-makers who are searching for leadership, poise, and fit as much as arm strength or athleticism, that difference matters more than fans often realize. Throughout the months leading up to the draft, Shedeur remained under intense scrutiny. He wasn't just a player, he was a symbol. The face of a new wave of athletes emerging with confidence, charisma, and huge media attention. His college highlights were impressive, his command on the field undeniable. But behind the scenes, without an agent buffering the noise, Shedeur became a target for speculation. Stories began to emerge. Questions were raised about his interview preparation, his personality, even his readiness to handle a pro-style offense. Whether these claims were grounded in fact, or simply the product of a gossip-heavy pre-draft season, they found oxygen. And no one was standing at the front lines of the media machine to refute them with calculated precision. Deion Sanders did not stay silent. On a podcast hosted by former NFL cornerback Asante Samuel, Deion passionately defended his son. He called the criticism foolish. He reminded listeners of the edge his family carries. The same chip that fueled legends like Tom Brady and himself. He pointed out how absurd it was to question Shedeur's preparation and professionalism. He told the world you wouldn't catch his son in any mess or unprepared moments, but even in that defense lies a deeper truth. Deion's love for his son is powerful and genuine, but that love cannot replace the professional advocacy of a trained agent who understands the political chessboard of the NFL Draft. Compare Shedeur's case to Cam Ward, another quarterback who also entered the draft without an agent, but Ward had a simpler evaluation, fewer question marks, a more straightforward persona that made him easier to assess. Shedeur came with expectations and eyeballs and pressure. His journey was going to be complicated from the start. He needed someone who could expertly navigate that complexity, someone to take meetings on his behalf, to set the tone in interviews, to advise him on exactly how to respond when questions got personal or narratives turned negative. Without that voice in the room, Shedeur was on his own, with the lights brightest and the stakes highest. So when the draft rolled around and team after team passed, the football world began to shift from surprise to speculation. Why is Shedeur falling? What's wrong behind the scenes? Why are teams staying away from a player with such obvious upside? The questions piled up. The answers didn't. And by the time the fifth round arrived, the damage was already done. What should have been a moment of triumph had turned into a lesson, one that future athletes may want to study very closely. Now Shedeur Sanders finds himself in Cleveland, a new chapter, a clean slate, but also a crowded quarterback room. He will have to compete. He will have to prove everything all over again. And he will have to do it with the pressure of knowing that many still doubt him. But here's where things can get interesting. Because if Shedeur channels all that noise, all that judgment, and all that fire into his play, he still has a chance to rewrite his narrative. Sometimes the greatest players are born not from draft night glory, but from having something to prove when the cameras stop rolling. This might just be his true beginning. And as we look ahead, one thing is certain. The draft didn't define Shedeur Sanders. What will define him is how he responds now. The long practices, the preseason reps, the competition, the chemistry. The games where the spotlight is back on, but this time he controls the story with every throw. And for every young player watching this unfold, remember the deeper truth. Talent will always get you noticed. But guidance, preparation, and the right people in your corner can get you chosen. This wasn't just about falling in the draft. It was about how easily perception can be shaped when no one's there to shape it for you. Shedeur Sanders made a bold decision, and now he's living with the consequences. But sometimes the fire that comes from being overlooked is the very thing that turns players into legends. The road may have taken an unexpected turn, but the destination? That's still in his hands.